What's going on, high speeds? All right, so I just got word from my unit a few days ago that I'm going to be taking an ACFT for record pretty soon, was I think the exact words they used, pretty soon. So I don't know the exact dates. I don't know under what conditions, you know, pretty normal Army stuff there. But that's why we got to stay ready at any given moment. I think it's like a soldier's duty to be ready at any time for anything, right? So it's not really, it doesn't do us any good to complain about something like that. It's just something we need to be prepared for, okay? So always be ready for the unexpected, especially in the Army. So I'm in here in the gritty garage gym, okay? And I'm doing a full-blown total ACFT workout for myself just to kind of, you know, make sure I'm hitting all the marks for myself, make sure that I'm still feeling good for all the different exercises and I'm able to max each and every exercise, or at least close to, right? And so since I'm doing that, I figured it would be a big benefit to show you guys what are the best alternate exercises that you can do to actually train up for the actual ACFT exercises, so that when it does come down to the ACFT, you're able to get up there on that line and not only meet the standard, but exceed it and hopefully actually max it and get that awesome 600 maxing score on the ACFT that we all want so badly. Now I know there's a lot of back and forth on the ACFT, but I think it's time that we realize the ACFT is not going anywhere. The Army can be a very stubborn beast, and that is especially true with all the brass that actually run the show. If there's something that needs to happen, it's gonna happen. You guys know that, and the ACFT is no different. So we might as well accept it, do our best to prepare for it, and do our best to exceed the standard on it. So let's get started. I'm gonna go into each event individually and basically just narrate through all the different alternate exercises, give you an example of the exercise itself, and explain to you why that exercise is so important for you to add into your own workout regimen. And before I forget, I need to make sure I'm doing my due diligence for the professionalism of this channel and remind you to like and subscribe now so that you don't miss any of my future videos. We put out a whole lot of solid, awesome information on this channel. You're not going to want to miss any of it. Like, subscribe, hit that little notification bell now so that you don't forget. Okay, so now we're getting into it. I want to go ahead and put some blanket statements that are going to be applicable to pretty much everything throughout this entire video, just to put it into proper context. First of all, I think every exercise for the ACFT needs to be exercised the most before all these other alternate exercises. For example, the hand release push-up, okay? I'm going to show you some alternate exercises that are going to strengthen your ability to perform the hand release push-up, but nothing replaces doing that exercise itself in preparation for being better at that exercise, okay? So remember that you should always be practicing the actual exercises more than all these alternate exercises. These alternate exercises are just going to help you hit those other extra accessory muscles that are going to help to strengthen and get you to that next level of performance for these exercises. And then it's also just going to help you to mix up the routines so that you're not just burning out on any one exercise over and over and over again, okay? So keep that in mind. And then also for the majority of these exercises, I want you to think rep ranges of 3 to 4 sets for 8 to 10 reps, okay? Of pretty much any of these exercises, unless I specify otherwise as we make our way through this video. All right, so let's talk about the first event, right? The maximum deadlifts. So I think it's safe to say that most of us do not have a hex bar at home. Even if we do have a fancy dancy home gym, or even at most gyms that you would go to, there's not gonna be a hex bar there, but most likely there'll be a barbell, okay? So first things first, you wanna make sure that you're good at the barbell deadlift, okay? This is what the barbell deadlift should look like. Now you gotta remember, when you're doing the barbell deadlift, most of the work is stemming from your hamstrings, the back part of your legs, okay? Now it is considered a full body exercise, so you are using a little bit of the back, a little bit of the upper traps, and a little bit of the rear delts as you do this motion. Your back should be low and straight, and it shouldn't be arched. One thing that really helps me make sure that I'm getting the deadlift down and make sure that I'm training right is to look up as I'm doing the deadlift. Now there are other variations of the deadlift that I think you should be doing to help you with the hex bar deadlift in general, okay? And that's gonna be kettlebell deadlifts, which you can see is gonna replicate holding the grips at the sides of your body instead of in front, which you guys know when you're doing the hex bar deadlift, the center of gravity is a little different than when you're doing a barbell deadlift, okay? So doing these kettlebell deadlifts is really gonna help you out. And then there's some other accessory exercises that I think you should start adding into your routine that is really going to help you build that hamstring strength, okay, to be able to handle the hex bar deadlift, and that's the sumo squat. I like to do it with kettlebells. You've got Romanian deadlifts, RDLs, and with the RDLs, you're keeping your legs almost straight, slight bend in the knees, and you're you're letting the weight go all the way down to just below your knees, and then you come back up and squeeze in the glutes, okay? That's how that one should be performed. It's different than a regular deadlift. You can do these with the kettlebell, you can do it with dumbbells, and once you need a little bit more weight, you can do it with the barbell. And then really, the best exercise that you could do for leg strength, especially for the hamstrings and the quads, is gonna be the barbell back squat. All right, so now let's move on to the standing power throw. Now the biggest takeaway from all of this, before we even get into the alternate exercises, is that you need to get used to handling the 10-pound ball. Don't use anything less, don't use anything more. Get yourself a 10-pound medicine ball or find one in the gym and use that when you're training for this event. Now this is especially true for this event. I know I've kind of already mentioned this, but you need to be practicing the standing power throw itself at least once every 2 weeks, preferably once every week. Just get out there, do a few throws in your backyard or with your unit or however you need to do it. Get some throws in at least once a week, all right? Just to practice it, get used to doing it. This exercise really relies a lot on power, okay? And power can be something that's a little difficult to build up. But I'm gonna give you a few exercises that are really gonna help you hone in on what's required, especially power-wise, for the standing power throw itself. All right, first exercise is gonna be the ball slam. All right, just take a 10-pound medicine ball and slam it on the ground, really focusing on the majority of that power stemming from your core as you do your slams. And just do that until you're about to freaking die. Take a minute or two break and then do it again. Do that 3 or 4 times. Another good one to do is the vertical ball throw, okay? This is gonna help you isolate the power to be able to throw the ball up. And it's also just gonna help you with dealing with the control of the ball. Another alternate exercise that doesn't have to do with the ball, but is still pretty critical on getting better at the standing ball throw, are the kettlebell swings. Now there's 2 variations of the kettlebell swing, okay? The first variation, as you see here, is the one that I think you should start off with if you're not used to doing kettlebell swings. If you haven't done this before, you're just not used to using kettlebells in general. This one's the Russian kettlebell swing, and you're gonna do it all the way up to just about chest level. You won't pass the chest, okay? This is gonna help you to avoid any injuries in your shoulders as you perform this exercise. Now, once you get comfortable and confident with doing the Russian kettlebell swing, I want you to bump it up to the next variation, and that's gonna be the American kettlebell swing. Now, the only difference here is that you're gonna go past chest level all the way up above your head with the entirety of the swing. Just be careful when you perform this, but if you are able to get to this level, then you'll really be training, everything you need to be training for that standing power throw event. And then I got one more exercise that I really want you to get used to doing. It's kind of a pain in the ass, but it's gonna pay huge dividends for you if you do this and you do it often, and that is tuck jumps. This one's really gonna help you out with the power, and it's also gonna increase your VO2 max levels because this thing's a real pain in the ass. You're gonna burn out real quick doing this, but it's almost like a burpee, okay? It really sucks doing it, but it comes with huge benefits if you get used to doing these things. All right, so now let's talk about the hand release push-up, okay? Like I mentioned before, nothing's gonna beat getting ready for the hand release push-up other than doing the hand release push-up itself, okay? So don't think that you can only do these alternate exercises and still get better at the hand release push-up. I still want you to focus mainly on doing the hand release push-up as you're training, but these are some alternate exercises that you can do on the same training day that you're training for the HRP. Now this exercise really focuses on dexterity, strength, and mainly endurance. And it's not just a chest and tricep exercise. That's why a lot of guys that are really good at the regular push-up are having a hard time with the hand release push-up, because the hand release push-up really takes away that momentum that you would normally be able to get from the push-up, and it targets a completely different muscle group that you don't really get as much out of the regular push-up, and that is the front delts. So that's something we need to focus on as we're training up for the hand release push-up. Now the first thing I want to show you is the overhead press, okay? You can do this in multiple different ways. You can do it with a barbell, you can do it with dumbbells and kettlebells. You can do both hands at the same time like with the barbell, or you can do standing single arm overhead presses, which is what I really like to do because it helps with stability of the overall body. But if you're having a hard time with the stability piece of it, then I'd recommend that you do seated dumbbell presses or even the Arnold overhead press, something like that. I want you to remember as you're doing overhead presses, regardless of the variation that you're doing, I want you to start off with extremely low weight, okay? This is one of those exercises that it's really easy to blow out like a shoulder and to hurt yourself, okay, if you start stacking on too much weight. And it's actually better to do this with lower weight and just do it nice and slow, methodical, and bring it back down, okay? Remember, 8 to 10 reps for these as well. Some other awesome alternate exercises you can do a front plate raise, okay? You just grab a plate from both sides. You can do this with bumper plates or steel plates, whatever, and just raise it up to your front, back down. You can even do it with 2 smaller plates or dumbbells or even kettlebells, 1 in each hand, and do it like that. Now, another really good exercise that I've found has worked wonders for me in particular, once I started doing this, I've noticed a huge difference with my hand release push-ups, and that is the Sven press. I think I'm saying that right. The Sven press. Basically, you're just gonna grab a plate, and I like to do these inclined normally, but you can do them on a flat bench as well. Just grab a plate, put your hands to the centers of the plate, keep it nice and tight, and then press up. And you'll see, I mean, I'm doing this with a 25-pound plate. I'm telling you guys, it doesn't look like much, but if you go out there and do it just like I'm doing it, do 10 reps in a row, you'll really feel a burn here, okay? So that's the hand release push-up. 2 quick things I want to tell you about the hand release push-up. If you're really having a hard time maxing these, I want you to do 2 minutes max of the hand release push-up right before bed every night, or at least every other night. That should help you out. And then also start integrating Tabata drills, okay? So that's 4 minutes total. It'll be 20 seconds of hand release push-ups, 10 seconds rest, and then do it again. 20 seconds, 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 10 seconds for 4 minutes total. You're gonna see your numbers increase drastically, very quickly. Okay, so now let's talk about the sprint drag carry. Now there really isn't a whole lot of alternate exercise that you can do to get ready for the sprint drag carry. What I would recommend is that you try to do a sprint drag carry itself, the actual event, at least once every 2 weeks. And then the other parts of that event that make up the sprint drag carry, integrate those individually into your workouts, okay? So what I mean to say is at least once a week, do yourself some kettlebell carries and do them with the 40-pound dumbbells, okay? But I would encourage you to do it for 50 meters at a time, okay? Maybe 4 or 5 sets of 50 meters, something like that. Same thing goes with the drags. Integrate those to the front or the back end of your workout routines. And for that, I would say the same thing. You know, do that for a little bit longer of a distance, so that you're really getting a good burn with that exercise rather than the shorter distance that it calls for during the event when it's actually game day. And of course, practice your shuttle sprints every now and then just so that you can get used to turning on both sides of the body, left and right. Okay, just practice it, get used to the motion. And you really want to be doing short sprints at least once a week. Now, being a runner, I would say that anyways, but this is especially true with the ACFT. Go out there and do 8 rounds of 100-meter sprints, resting maybe 1 minute and 30 seconds in between each sprint, okay? And that's at 100%, okay? That's really all you need to do to practice for the sprints. Just do that. You're gonna see a huge increase in your sprint drag carry right there. The sprint drag carry does involve some strength, okay? But it's really testing your VO2 max and your cardiovascular abilities. That's why you're getting like that huge burnout. You can barely even breathe by the time you're done. Okay, so that's really what we're training here. So go out there and do sprints at least once a week. Do it like I told you, you'll see an increase. Another thing that's gonna help you with your VO2 max, if you don't really like running that much, is doing HIIT workouts or just adding circuit training into your workout routines. That's what I like to do. I like to add, small little circuits into the front or back end of my normal strength routines, just so that I can make sure that I'm keeping up my cardio appropriately for somebody who's really focused on endurance, which a lot of you should be. That's what I like to do because I really like to make sure that I prioritize my endurance over anything else. Strength's important, speed's important, cardio's important, endurance, that's kind of like the overall thing for me. And I think it should be like that for you too. Any soldiers, that's how it should be. So add some circuit training in, do some AMRAPs, do some things that are really gonna challenge you and get that breathing up, okay? What I mean by circuits is just, pick 4 exercises, maybe like burpee, push-up, air squat, and tuck jumps, something like that. Do those back to back for 4 rounds, minimal breaks, no breaks, only break when you need to. And just do it to the point where you're just dying at the end, okay? Now, after you do that, you're ready for your strength session. Or you can do your strength session and do the circuit on the back end. It's up to you, but it's really important to get those circuits in. All right, so now let's talk about the hanging leg tuck. All right, so the hanging leg tuck, we all know what the standard is, alternate grip. You gotta start from a free hang. Arms have to be fully extended and your knees have to come up to hit your elbows to get that nice crunch midway, and then you're gonna go back down and do it again for 20 reps to max this thing. It's really not that bad if you build up the right amount of strength in the right areas so that it doesn't hurt to stay up there on the bar. And then also you need to make sure that you're finding your momentum and have enough of that endurance and power in your body to be able to sustain that momentum to keep knocking out those reps, okay? So the first part of strength that you need to work on is going to be actually holding up on the bar. The way to build up that strength for this exercise in particular is going to be the alternating pull-up, okay? Just like that. All right, and then obviously you want to do the other side as well, so I'd have to switch on this. That exercise is going to help you a lot with the upper body strength to help you to stay up there on the bar. Now the rest of the work or training for the hanging leg tuck is going to be done on the ground. So first core exercise, I want you to start integrating into your routine, and you should be adding core into like the back end or the front end of pretty much every workout routine, at least one core exercise, all right? That's like a good tip for you, a good TTP to live by. But the first one I'm going to show you is pretty critical. This one you should definitely be doing and getting used to, and doing it enough where it's easy for you to bang out like 20 reps at any given time, and that's the lying leg lift, okay? So it just looks like this, hands underneath your butt, nice straight body, straight legs, lifting up your legs. And your toes should go right past your head. This should be a nice methodical motion. Next one I want you to practice to get good at is the V-up, okay? It's gonna look like this. This is the variation of the V-up that I want you to do. So you have your palms down on the ground, feet out in front of you, elbows bent. This is the starting position. And you come up for a crunch. And your arms are really just there to stabilize you. This is all of the core. And you really want to make sure you hold for 1 or 2 seconds at the squeeze. All right, the last one, you're going to want to grab your medicine ball, your 10-pound medicine ball that you would use for the standing ball throw, and you're going to want to do Russian twist with it, okay? And that's going to look like this. This is probably the hardest variation of them all. Now, if it's too hard for you to do that with your feet up off the ground like I just did, then just keep your feet on the ground for some support for you, like this, until you can get it right. But I would recommend that you maintain use of the ball. I wouldn't recommend that you get rid of the ball and do it like this, unless you really need to. But I would try to push through it and do it with the use of the ball, because you should be using the ball as much as possible to get used to the ball. Another really good exercise that I just don't have the equipment here in my garage, but most gyms will have this, is a GHD sit-up. You have the GHD equipment there at the gym. Use that to do a complete sit-up. Just look it up, GHD sit-up. Do those every now and then too. Those will help you a lot for the hanging leg tuck. But the best thing that you can possibly do to get better at that exercise is to go out there and actually do it. It's such an awkward exercise to get down that you really just need to practice to get it right, okay? Practice doing it the standard. Don't cheat yourself when you practice, even if you can't get the reps in. Just do it, do it, do it. Practice makes perfect, all right, guys? All right, guys, now the last event of the ACFT, the 2-mile run, all right? It's a favorite for everybody, I'm sure. This is like the easiest event to pass, hardest event to max, right? Obviously, to train for a run, you need to get out there and run, okay? So I wouldn't be doing you much good to be beating that up too much, but I will give you a few little tips that you can take with you to really set you up for success for the 2-mile run that takes place in the back end of the ACFT. So first of all, you should be adding a 2-mile run to the back end of your workouts every now and then, at least like once a week, maybe twice a week. And that's gonna help your body get used to the endurance that's required to actually perform and do well on a run after it's just been through an entire strength session. I would say it's more normal to do a run before a strength session, but I want you to flip-flop that for a while and see if that brings you results. I bet you it will. Another quick tip is I want you to get used to running further than 2 miles. I want you to go out there and run 3 miles, 4 miles, 5 miles on the rev, okay? Do it normally so that a 2-miler doesn't seem like so long for you. If you can go out there and run 6 miles and it's not like a big deal for you, then a 2-mile is like nothing. Another good money maker is I want you to set aside one day, okay, or at least like one specific training session where there's nothing before or after. Dedicate that to a 2-mile run for time, okay? Do that at least like once every 2 weeks. And just run that 2-miler as fast as you possibly can so that you get used to that feeling of just going as hard as possible for 2 miles. And then the last thing I'll throw at you, I know this is gonna be controversial because it always is every time I bring it up. The last thing I'll throw at you is doing a 2-miler wearing your plate carrier, okay? Just be careful when you do it, okay? Especially if you've never done it before. Yes, you are gonna be running with weight, but if you think about it, it's not any different than running with a ruck or something like that. It's just a little bit extra weight, you know, just to help you get used to dealing with a little bit extra as you run, so that way when it comes to the ACFT and you're running without the plate carrier, without the extra weight, it's gonna be that much easier for you. So I'd highly recommend that you do plate carrier running. You know, again, just be really careful when you do it. But it's going to help you out a lot in the long run if you get used to running with your plate carrier on. All right, guys, so that's it. Those are all like the no shit alternate exercises to train for the actual exercises for the different events for the ACFT. All those exercises are gonna work wonders for you, I guarantee it. Make sure that you're actually implementing them into your workout routine. Make sure you're giving these things a shot. Also, quick plug, if you're looking for an actual training program to just set you straight, no ifs, ands, or buts, for the ACFT, we have a MAX the ACFT program at grittysoldier.com. I'll put the link in the description. You should go check that out. I hope all this was useful for you guys. As usual, if you guys have any tips yourselves you want to share with the community, please do drop that in the comments. If you have any questions, concerns, or anything at all, please drop that in the comments. I actually do read the comments and I'll get back to you. I do a deeper dive into some of the events specifically on this channel with some past videos. I'll put those here, here, and here. Besides that, I got nothing else for you, and I'll see you on the next one.